Hello everyone, Mike here, and I love the Addams Family. Growing up, I used to watch the old 60s TV show and movies, and I would fantasize how cool it would be to play Gomez. Now, obviously, I'm never going to have a chance to do that. You know, TV shows and movies, I'm not going to get cast in something like that. Then they made the musical. And I got really excited because now there's an opportunity. And the opportunity has actually come because this October, my local community theater is going to be doing the Addams Family. So I'm finally going to have a chance to live out a childhood dream and play Gomez in an Addams Family project. That's actually the reason my hair is so much longer. I'm in the process of growing it out for that role. But I thought I'd bring you guys along on my journey towards that. When the auditions come, I'll, keep you guys up to date. I'll show you a little of my progress in getting ready for it and other Addams Family related videos, such as today. You see, for Christmas a couple of years ago, I received The Addams Family, an Evolution, which is specifically about the comic strips that Charles Addams originally wrote. And it's really cool. I mean, it's got all of the little one-panel strips, and at the same time, it's got information about Charles Addams himself, about the characters, and all that. And it actually led to some interesting things that I didn't know at the time about the Addams Family. So today, as my first Addams Family related video, I am gonna bring you guys through some interesting facts about the Addams Family that may or may not be all that well known. And this isn't like a top 10 facts or anything. How many do I even have here? These are the top 6 Addams Family facts. Just 6 interesting facts about the Addams Family that may not be as well known. So let's get right into it with the fact that Gomez and Morticia may not actually be married. When the comics were first coming out and they started introducing the characters, Charles Addams actually said right off the bat that Gomez and Morticia may not be married. And let me find the exact quote here. Here it is. In the introduction to the character of Gomez, Charles Addams wrote, "Husband of Morticia, if indeed they are married at all." So, for all we know, these two were just a couple in love that raised a family together. We don't have a guarantee that they actually were married at the time. Now, obviously, when they made the 60s series, you were not going to have a couple out of wedlock living together with kids. It's the 60s. They were not going to do that. And by the time we got to, current day, with the movies, further TV series, cartoons, all that, at this point, it's pretty much been made a fact that Gomez and Morticia are married. But it's interesting that they weren't confirmed to be initially, although at the same time they were not confirmed not to be either. But let's move on. Next is kind of a muddy one, and that is the ages of Pugsley and Wednesday. Now, in the initial comics, let me find it. Definitely edit out this long pause. Now, in the initial comics, they only gave an age for Pugsley, saying in here it was an energetic monster of a boy about 9 years old. They didn't give an age for Wednesday. And based on the art, you can't really say who's older. when they did the 60s series, of course, Pugsley was clearly the older, just based on the ages of Ken Weatherwax and Lisa Loring. You could tell. You knew who was older. Pugsley was clearly the older brother. I believe it was the 90s movie that changed that, because even in the cartoons, they didn't really specify. But by the 90s movie, it was completely reversed. Wednesday was definitely the older child, and it stuck. Ever since then, every incarnation of the series, excuse me, has Wednesday as the older child. Although, initially in the 60s series, it was Pugsley, and in the comics, who knows? The only one they gave an age for was Pugsley. They never really said what Wednesday's age was. Next, this is one that's not as unknown, but it's kind of a humorous one. Pugsley's original name. This was, of course, for the TV series. Initially, very few of the characters actually had names initially, because they were all one-panel comics. But when it came time for them to do a TV series, they needed to give them names. And the original name they wanted for Pugsley was Pubert. Go figure. People didn't really like the idea of calling him Pubert. Let me see if they actually have anything specifically. Yes, Charles Addams merely named him Pubert. Short, to the point. The name expressed exactly how Addams felt about the creativity and energy locked up in young boys. He relished every cunning and divisive scheme for which they were responsible. Unfortunately, television at the time was a bit embarrassed by this frankness, so Addams was obliged to find a different name. So, of course, that led to him going with Pugsley because he just liked it. Funny enough, the name Pubert would then be held onto and used in the 1993, I believe, Addams Family Values sequel as the name given to the third Addams Family child, who Addams Family Reunion then suggested Pugsley later ate. The characters were not originally named Addams. This is another interesting one. And I'm searching through the book again to find the... Here we are. Initially, although they never really made a deal out of it, the family was the Frumps. Specifically because Grandmama, who, by the way, while a lot of times it's made ambiguous these days, she was originally Gomez's mother. As actually right in there, this disrespectful old hag is the mother of Gomez. So, yeah. All the question of, oh, whose mother is she? She's Gomez's. It's right there in Charles Addams' own words. But the thing is, her name was Granny Frump, which means technically the characters are not the Addamses, they are the Frumps, because Gomez's name would therefore be Frump. Now, when they did the 60 series again, it's like, well, I don't really want to call them that. I don't know if it's that or if they just didn't even remember that that's what the characters were called. They just went with Charles Addams' name and just called them the Addams family. And that stuck. They did end up using Frump because Morticia's maiden name in the 60 series was Frump. That would come up in the whole flashback to Gomez and Morticia's romance and wedding. But yeah, originally the family were the Frumps. All right. Another popular character, doing some more scrolling through here. It would be Uncle Fester, who may not actually be related to the family. I can kind of kind of understand this. I have some nephews who are technically not my actual nephews, but I consider them such, and they call me Uncle Mike. But let's see where it was. I believe here. Yeah, based on work centered on this character's development alone, Uncle Fester, and the diversified specimens he was before being named as a member of the family. I think I'm looking at the wrong. I am actually completely on the wrong section of this. Here it is. I apologize. I'm all over the place. Fester may not have been related to the family at all. It was, and perhaps still is, and yes, it is, very common practice for upper-class parents to refer to and nickname for children's sake their best friends as uncle or aunt, which, again, I have a similar situation. So it was actually possible that Fester was not actually a part of the family, although his relation to the family has gone all over the place. Because in the 60s series, it was changed so that he was Morticia's uncle. And then, of course, in the 90s movies, that got changed again, and he became Gomez's brother, thus Wednesday and Pugsley's uncle. That has stuck ever since. Pretty much anything that was created in the 90s version has pretty much stayed that way since then. So Fester, while not initially guaranteed to be a member of the family, is at this point Gomez's brother, and probably one of the most popular, characters in the series. I think people really get a kick out of Fester. And the final little fun fact, and this one really threw me off when I first discovered it because I had no idea. That is the fact that Thing was not initially just a hand. I got a couple images showing here of Thing, who was just kind of a creature of some sort. What Charles Addams wrote about him is, Thing is often observed watching the family through the balustrades of the balcony over the living room. We don't know quite who or what he is, but whatever, he's the soul of good nature. At least he grins perpetually and may occasionally whimper. So yeah, Thing was an interesting creature initially, but of course that was going to be really difficult to do on a TV show. Again, a lot of these changes came from the 60s show. It was going to be really hard to have this weird creature just kind of looking over the balcony constantly. So they made the change and ended up making him just a hand that would occasionally, pop out of a box or whatever and do something interesting. This, again, stuck. And in the 90s series, they went even further with it. He was no longer even just hanging out inside a box. He was just a disembodied hand wandering all over the place. And that, again, has stuck. And those are just a couple fun little facts about the Addams family that may or may not be that well known. As I said, I'm going to be working to keep you guys up on my progress towards potentially getting to play Gomez myself. For anyone wondering, yes, if I get the role, I will be dyeing my hair black. I will grow the mustache. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm going to be going in there as a brown-haired Gomez. But some things I've got planned. I'm going to be doing a playthrough of the Addams Family 1991 board game, which I've played, I think once or twice, but it is a fun game. I'm going to potentially do some reviews, maybe do a little bit of practicing of my audition song here on the channel, and a few other things. So just some Addams Family fun to look forward to in the future. But that's all I've got on this one. So until next time.